Man, reading old handwriting is tough. Sometimes it's so difficult because of either the record quality or because you just can't read cursive, or the cursive doesn't look like the cursive that you learned about when you were growing up. And it's a really big problem when people are trying to discover their family and doing family history work. So what do you do? What do you do when you can't read writing, particularly for family history, but really for anything? Maybe you have to read documents for some other reason, particularly old documents, and you're really out of your depth and you don't know how to do it. There are some things that you can know that will make a difference as you try to learn to read handwriting. Hi, I'm Aimee Cross. Let's take your family history to the next level. I do have a handout for this video. I have a handout that goes into a little bit more depth and provides you some examples, as well as some great resources and links of other places that you can go for help. So you can either get that handout if you are part of Aimee's crew as a YouTube subscriber, or you can go to my Etsy page and you can purchase it there. So the link for that is below in the show notes and in the video description. So check that out. I can't tell you how often I talk to people and they tell me that it really is a stumbling block in their family history. They're trying to discover more about their family, but they're encountering these documents that they can't read and they don't know what to do. So it's not uncommon. You are not alone. And we have two reasons. Like I mentioned before, sometimes the quality of the image is poor. Either the photograph isn't great or the ink has faded over time. The other thing that can happen too is sometimes people really don't know how to read cursive, and most of this writing is based in cursive. And it's not taught in schools anymore. So what do you do? How do you go about it? Let me talk about a couple of things that will make a big difference. I'm going to give you a few suggestions on what you can do, and then I'm going to give you some ideas of other places that you can go to find more help if you need it. All right, so my first tip is sometimes you need to download the document to enlarge it. Sometimes the platform that you're on will only let you enlarge it so big, and you really need to just see it better. So one great strategy is download the image, and then on your own computer, you can enlarge it and take a look at it, sometimes with a little bit more clarity. The second really big suggestion that I have for you is to compare the information that you see with other information on other parts of the document, whether it be on the same page or on previous pages. Sometimes a letter you're just not sure about, you'll see it in another word that because of the context of the word or the rest of the word, you know what it is in that word. So then you can take that information and you can apply it to the particular letter and word that you're struggling with, and that can make all the difference. The same is true of numbers. I have a great example in my handout out of how a number made all the difference in the world. It totally gave us more information about the age of somebody. He was thought to be 20 when he was actually 70, and it made a huge difference in trying to find his other records. So it was indexed incorrectly. Anyway, look at that image and don't just go by the indexing as well, right? That's something that I talk about all the time. Another thing that a lot of people do is to sometimes read the document out loud. That sounds weird. I know you're kind of like, that would be kind of weird reading it out loud to myself. But it can make a difference. As you're reading through it, you're going to be phonetically sounding out the different words in the document, and it might just flow and you might better understand what that word could mean. Another thing that you might want to consider too is, what's the purpose of the document? And are there phrases in here that are unfamiliar to me? Do I need to go and find them somewhere else? For instance, legal phrases. Maybe it's not making sense to you because you don't understand the text of the document. So your best option is to Google the word that you don't understand, or try to figure out what that text is meaning when it just is foreign to you. Or there's another option. I did an interview recently with Krista Cowan of Ancestry, and one of the things that she talked about that she's been doing is taking the text once it's transcribed, which means written every word of the text on a separate document. She's taken the transcription and she's put it up onto ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to put it in terms that we would use today. And she said that's been very successful for her. I still haven't tried that yet, but I really want to try it. But I do use ChatGPT for other things, and I could see that being really successful. So, but again, you need to be able to transcribe the document, right? Which is sometimes our problem. So what are some of the other things that you can do to better understand these documents and to correctly read them? There's a few things that are fairly common that kind of hitch people up, okay? And the first one are S's. S's looked really different in the 17 and 1800s. And one of the things that I want to point out to you too, in the 17 and 1800s, there was no standard spellings on things. That didn't exist. Education wasn't to that point, nor was there a education on how to write. So that's part of the reason why this writing doesn't look so great, and you'll see things spelled very differently. That's why, okay? So, but let me go back to some of these things that are difficult to read. S's. S's are really hard to see because sometimes they look like an F today, especially if you see a word that ends like in two S's, it's going to look like two F's. And I see a lot of people make mistakes there. S's can also look like P's or L's. And the letter Y was often used in place of the letter I in today's words, like mine would be spelled today, M-I-N-E. But then you'll frequently see it as M-Y-N-E. There's also a lot of abbreviations like et al, meant, and others. You'll see an abbreviation WIT, which means witness. The other thing that they frequently used was superscripts, that little letter up at the top that's smaller in font than the rest of the letters. And you might see something like JA with the superscript S. And we might think that's Jason, right? Or James. Usually it was James then. But you may not know for sure, and you may have to find other places where you get more information on that name. Those were very common. It doesn't mean that his name was Jay. It just means that they were abbreviating it. And part of the reason for that was parchment and paper was expensive at that time period, and they used abbreviations wherever possible. I have a couple of other helpful abbreviations in that handout. One of the other ones that really cracks me up is the word infant. Now, this is kind of understanding law and understanding like how things were then, but if we see infant in text today, we're thinking of a baby. But that's not true then. Anybody that was under legal age was oftentimes written as an infant. So you could see somebody that was 16 years old or 13 years old listed as an infant. And so that's something to keep in mind when you see something like that in your record. It may not be that you're looking for a baby. It may be that you're looking for an older child or young adult, and you're just expecting it to be something different than what it is. All right, so let's say you've gotten all these suggestions, you're more lost than you were before. These clues are still not helping you, you're still having difficulty in reading some of these documents that are important to you. What do? All right, I'm going to give you a couple of clues. The first is to index. Indexing is going through a record and pulling out the pertinent information that then goes into a database that then makes that record searchable. It's how hints happen, whether it be on Ancestry or FamilySearch or anywhere, okay? So it allows us to then search by somebody's name, and then we find all these records pertaining to them. Well, one, not all records have been indexed, and so you're not finding them as easily. You have to muck through either digital images or you have to go to the courthouse to actually look at the record. So indexing is a great benefit to everybody. So not only are you doing a little bit of service, but if you index, you actually get a lot better at reading this stuff. It's the practice makes perfect thing, right? So I did a video just last week. I'm going to put a link for that here. You can learn how to index if that's something that is interesting to you. And I highly recommend doing that. One, it's very helpful. And two, I promise you're going to get better. There's a couple of other places that you can go for help. And the first, and my very favorite, is Brigham Young University has a script tutorial page. You can obtain guidance in reading not only English records, but Spanish, Italian, Latin, a lot of other types of records. There's so much there. I've talked a little bit more about it in my handout, but there's so much there that I want you to take a look at. It's really worthwhile. It's script.byu.edu. Another place that you can go that's something that is great to have on hand is FamilySearch has a handwriting helps page that shows you what those various letters look like and in various types of text. And I have that on my computer and I frequently refer to it when I'm having trouble. And that can be really helpful for you. The link to that is also in the show notes below in the description of the video. Yale also has something that can be helpful. The link to that is in the handout, as well as other links like Cindy's List and Ancestry. There's a bunch of other places that you can go for helps on how to decipher handwriting. It's hard. I get it. It's hard to learn to read it, but I will tell you that I can read documents now so much more easily than I could years ago. It's because for me, I'm looking at them almost daily. And so I'm seeing this stuff all the time, and it's just becoming second nature to me. Practice makes perfect. So I hope you can use these strategies and you can find more success as you're trying to read those difficult documents, that handwriting that is difficult to decipher, and discover more about your family. Because I'm telling you right now, if you're looking at a document like on Ancestry and you're looking at just the indexed information and that's what you're going off of because you can't really read the document, there's more to the document and you're missing out. So you want to get to the point where you can read this writing too, and you're going to be a better genealogist, you're going to have a whole lot more fun with your family history, and you're going to be better at reading these types of documents for any type of application. So enjoy, good luck, and please put some of your successes and other questions in the comments. This other video right here is the video on how to index, so check that out. Thanks.